and welcome. Thank you for tuning in. You're going to be listening in on two therapists talking. We're going to talk about some of the, mostly what we're going to talk about today is couples counseling, and especially Arthi's approach to couples counseling. Arthi is our new associate at Light on Wellness. She has just started about within last 2 months. We've been collaborating for the last 2 months, and Arthi is our go-to expert at couples and children. Arthi has a soft spot for children, and Arthi is doing couples counseling, individual counseling, and she works with children individually. And do you sometimes work with families as well, Arthi?
Yes, I do work with families once in a while, but my main area of focus is with couples and children.
Fantastic. So Arthi has an expertise in conscious relationships, which is a very, very interesting topic. And I think it's being talked about more and more and more from what I'm seeing. And maybe we can just touch a little bit on what a conscious relationship is and how we teach conscious relationships if we can. I would be so excited to learn from you as you explain that to me as well, because this is not my expertise. I don't work with couples. My main expertise is millennial women with anxiety. Seems to be 75% of my market. So Arthi has an integrative approach to couples counseling. Arthi, you're using evidence-based modalities and coupling it together with some ancient practices and spiritual practices such as Tantra and somatic experiencing and somatic healing. Do you want to just educate us a little bit more? What would a couple experience working with you with that integrative approach?
Yes, thank you very much, Julia. And so when a couple comes in for therapy, I do draw upon, I'm a very heart-centered therapist, and I do bring in evidence-based therapies combined with spiritual practices, like you mentioned. I draw upon emotional focused therapy and internal family systems on my evidence-based approaches, and tantra, somatic body movements, and trauma-informed yoga practices from the spiritual practice. So what a couple expects when they come in the first session is usually a very detailed assessment the couple go through, so that it helps us to identify what their couple's dynamic is. Usually there is the pursuer and the withdrawer. So different couples like the different dynamics, so that assessment is done individually. Each partner does their own assessment, and it's also a time for them to kind of really reflect on where their relationship is, how far they've come on this journey together. So that's what we do during the first session. And then in the second session, we kind of jump into identifying what is their present concern, like what is the issue that they want to address in therapy, because I'm sure they've tried different approaches and nothing is working and they're here at therapy. So we really dive into their present concerns that they have. And from there on, we try to see what happens in a relationship is most often partners are trying to get their unmet needs from childhood met through their intimate partner. So we kind of try to link what's going on in the present issues with what's going on from their roots. So we kind of go back to doing some family of origin work. And that is a very deep process, very deep in healing, and it's very meaningful when two people come together in session and really witness their partner's upbringing and witnessing their partner go through that deep work together in session is very profound for both the partners involved.
Goosebumps for you, yes.
And so that is like a deep trauma work and a family of origin work. And then from there, so they get an awareness of why they're doing what they're doing, or where they learn these patterns or dysfunctional relational skills from. And from there on, we try to introduce mindfulness-based techniques. That's where the tantra and the somatic body movements and all of that, because to be present in a relationship, you really need these mindfulness skills to be able to take a pause and, to not to reach back into your adaptive mind and have this whoosh response when your partner does something wrong, but to be able to take a pause and really check in with yourself before being able to relate to your partner when they're not in a very stable
Mhm.
position. Right. And then, oh yeah, then that we learn skills, we give them different kinds of relational skills that they can take back and practice. So even in session, we're doing a lot of role plays, uh, doing different forms of relationals where they can get an experience of how to be with each other and to really build that bridge, that relational bridge with the partners.
Wow, that sounds phenomenal. I had like a couple of waves of goosebumps as you were talking. Like this is really making my soul happy as you're saying. Like I can just imagine what couples are going through, and I can see that process. So thank you for describing it in such a beautiful way. What would you say? What would you say? Like, what would be one or many maybe transformations that you could describe, like that you've seen some of the couples that you've worked with undergo, that makes your soul happy as you're a part of that process with them?
Usually, when a couple seek therapy, they've usually tried various approaches and they come to us saying, I've tried everything and nothing is working. So, the first process is in helping them know or be aware that, like, just as a child goes through various developmental stages, every relationship goes through various developmental stages.
Mhm.
If there is harmony, the honeymoon stage, and then there is disharmony, and then there is repair. And that is a very normal phase every relationship goes through. So what happens is after the honeymoon stage, which usually lasts anywhere around 2 years or 2.5 years, when they really start getting to know the partner better and that disharmony stage comes in, that's when a lot of couples decide to call it the quit. They say, we can't get together. We cannot put up, like, we're not made for each other. They give up too soon, rather than that is the time that they have to take a pause from their partner, like just as the baby with the developmental phase, how it tries to learn about its own environment, pushes away from the caregiver.
Yes.
We as partners need to learn to take a break from each other and look inward to see what is my contribution in this relationship, what is, like, really reflect, do a lot of self-reflection. And that's so when we educate the couples about, what, it's normal that you're having these arguments or these conflicts. It's very normal, but you need to, like, really see how you can work through this.
Mhm.
Like, all couples go through this, and then is the repair stage. Like, so if you really pull through this disharmony, then is the repair where you're really learning new relational skills and coming together again. Like the child who goes away and comes back to
Yeah.
the mother, right? The attachment style. So we kind of go with this, and a lot of times couples are like, it's like an aha moment for them, because then they think, oh, it's only us, it's our relationship that
Love
is not working. And when they know it's normal and there are stages in a relationship, they feel very hopeful. They're like, I see now, so there is hope in this relationship. If they don't repair the what's going on, this pattern, what happens is they might call it the quits. And when they are in a new relationship, they're going to play out the same pattern.
it.
And a lot of times couples have already been in multiple relationships when, by the time they're married, and they kind of really, it brings an awareness to them. They're like, I see. I mean, all my partners, there is more or less the same kind of a pattern, or
Mhm.
I seem to attract the same kind of a partner.
So Arthi, it sounds like what you've described, what I've heard is that you're kind of teaching the couple to treat a relationship as a third entity. Like our
Mhm.
relationship goes through stages, like we go through stages, like a child goes through the stages. So there's kind of this like observational, and we kind of learn to observe the relationship from the side, and we think that we're in it, and when we're in it we seem kind of lost and we don't know what's going on. But when we're able to look at something from the side and learn that it has a life on its own, and we're contributing to it, and we're taking away from this, and we can affect this, and we can mold it together, there's like this empowerment, almost like for each person within the couple
Person.
that contributes to that relationship. So there is this like ownership of it, almost like in the sense of control that I'm imagining people might be. That's what I'm imagining feeling as you're talking.
Very beautiful, like you put it in the very beautifully. Yes, your relationship is a separate entity and each one contributes, and you give and you take, right? So it's like not always receiving. So yes, adolescents.
Absolutely. Okay. And I'm loving also that there's this, that you're bringing in the idea of that we're meeting our unmet needs through the partner. So in a way, we're kind of talking about, I guess, projecting something, a pain or a wounding of some sort, or transferring it onto the partner and creating a set of expectations that they might or might not be able to meet. So then there's kind of that, when I'm imagining that as a, like if I were your client and I would bring my partner in there, I would imagine realizing what it is that I'm transferring on and where my expectations are from him, or where my expectations are really not from him but from the original caretaker. So there's a healing there.
There is a big potential of healing there, because we all carry those memories with us, those unresolved memories, and most often we are just not aware of it. We kind of, those memories are, we tend to think, oh, it's from the past, and we want to leave it in the past and just kind of move forward. But then when we're trying to do that, we're not being an integrated person. We're trying to leave a part of our story behind.
Yes. And then we leave a part of ourselves behind then too, if we do that, if we say that back.
True.
So bringing awareness to all of that and seeing how that plays out in a relationship, and when both people do this work, it creates this it creates that consciousness, right? And that's what I'm imagining a conscious relationship is then, like the
All about, yes.
one
It's
of the
like,
things that I wanted to bring in and ask you, and it seems like a weird question, and it does tend to kind of like create this sensation of like, what do you mean? So when I ask you, and if it kind of lands on you as like, what am I trying to say, is that I'm going to maybe give a little bit of a preamble of why I'm asking this. Lately, I've noticed that there's been a lot of people coming into therapy, seeking therapy, specifically from the lens of trauma. And so I've seen new clients who are looking and seeking therapy, and they're asking like, oh, I want to heal some traumas. I want to realize why I'm reacting, why I'm doing things a certain way. And so they're bringing in their trauma without not always necessarily knowing what their trauma is, but they are thinking from, there's a lot of information available right now on social media, online, on the web, on YouTube, about trauma healing. EMDR is all over the place. Everybody's looking for some sort of like a psychodynamic work in terms of like real healing these old parts of ourselves so that we don't have to repeat the patterns. People are talking about triggers and using a lot of psychotherapeutic jargon around trauma. So I wanted to address that a little bit for the viewers, for those who might have a question around how does trauma show up in couples work, and what are some of the ways that we can do to maybe bring an awareness, maybe saying, hey, this is a trauma response. So before I put that question to you like that, I'm kind of reflecting back on what you've said so far in terms of your approach. And it seems to me that your approach is already inherently trauma informed, because the unmet needs that we've talked about, that we bring in from our previous relationships or our upbringing, that is kind of the wounding, right? So if we become aware of it, then we kind of already tending to the trauma and realizing, hey, this is a reaction because I'm used to reacting like this to the past, and let's build maybe a skill set about how do I respond to my partner rather than react to my dad. so
yes.
so I'm kind of like seeing the trauma informed approach in there. Is there any other way that you know, or that you do, how you can handle if for example a traumatic experience is being shared by one of the participants in the couple?
All right. So with trauma, it's always, I like to give them an education, a psychoeducation about what trauma is, like, because trauma is not the event itself. It is what happens in your body as a result of the event, of the traumatic event. How? Because it's all stored in your body. Your body either goes into a state of freeze or a flight or fight, right? So it's usually the freeze in your body. So working with trauma, that's where the somatic experiencing or the or yoga therapy really comes into play, because really work to move through trauma, you need to move through your body.
Mhm.
Is where, because it's all your memories are stored in your body. Psychotherapy is very beautiful. It helps you to really come to terms with the event in a very cognitive way, but only through moving, like making the connection between the mind and the body happens through somatic movement.
Mhm.
So that's where we bring that in. And trauma processing is always in stages. First is really knowing, though the trauma could be from the past or even it's from the present, we make sure that there is safety, because a lot of times one way to know if that is a trauma response is you don't feel safe. You don't feel safe in the here and now. You don't feel safe with the person that you're with. So how can we create that safety container for you in the here and now? And and a lot of, because we all have these internal resources within us, but with trauma, the client feels like, no, we're powerless. We're out of control. And
Yes,
really, right, because that's what trauma does. It makes you feel powerless, and really allowing them, really helping them to find their own inner resources, because we're all resourceful. We don't
absolutely.
need to look outside. Like just looking inward for their inner resources is like this is the second step, and then seeing how oriented they are to their here and now, and oriented they are to their own bodies. Because that's another thing with trauma, is like you have this disconnect between your body and mind.
Yes, and we want to create that connection. Absolutely. And that's how we process the trauma through the body and then
Body.
creating that awareness and
Mhm.
and then realize that all of the skills are there and within, and we just
Within you, you have to just tap into that, and then that is why we do it in a very safe container with a therapist, because often we might have the skills, but then only when we do it, because another thing is trauma is caused by another person, so you need another person to feel safe and to witness you moving through that.
beautiful. So it is through another person that we get to heal that too.
Yes.
Wow. And this is where the couples work. Wow. That's beautiful. Wow.
And that's when they have their own partner with them in that room, it's a beautiful, amazing process to witness the couple really witnessing and going through all of this together.
Yeah.
And then they become, all of a sudden they lose guards, and they become so compassionate with each other, right? The way they start relating to each other is very compassionate. They very automatically, when they witness their partner going through becoming emotional and becoming the child, the connecting with their inner child,
Stepping into
the
the
other part,
vulnerability and the pain of the wounding.
yes,
The,
and the other partner automatically becomes very compassionate and empathetic, and they often tell me like, oh, I never knew I had that skill within me to be this
yeah.
compassionate and look at them in this lens.
Yeah, and I bet you it's a very, very different response that the partner who is in the vulnerable position experiencing or healing the trauma, it's a very different response from what they might actually experience at home when they're emoting and the partner goes like, oh, there you go again, you cry all the time, you're constantly complaining, what's wrong with you now? Right? It's a very much, it's very
Yeah.
different.
Very different.
And does that happen? Does that happen in the individual like counseling session with a couple, or is that something that you do in groups as well?
So you mean in group therapy? So
In
I
Yeah, in groups, because I know you're doing workshops. So what happens in the work?
yes. So in the workshops, what the so when I do groups or in group workshops, I like to actually start telling you a little story to see what the intention for the group is.
Mhm.
So could I tell you a story and
Please.
introduce like groups, because there is so much of essence to the group, and it really comes out well in the story. So there was this village. In this village, women would get together every day to wash clothes, or once a week to wash clothes. And when they came together, they would share their stories, laugh out together, cry, even just hold silence for the other women who really needed that silence, moment of silence together. And they would move their bodies to wash their clothes, right? Like imagine washing clothes, really getting on your feet and washing clothes. And for the passerby, it was a beautiful sight to witness all these beautiful women washing clothes. And their children would be close by around playing, and they would hear the women laughing and crying, and being in this communal place of sisterhood. They
Mhm.
would watch them, and all of a sudden the washing machine came into town, and the women stopped, gathering around the river to wash clothes.
Mhm.
And with that came depression and anxiety and name it all, right? Like everybody was, uh, became into a shell, right? So the groups, that having a tribe or a group is such an important aspect in our lives. And that's what we try to co-create together in the groups or in the workshops. So we're just trying to co-create that environment of communal sisterhood or brotherhood where we can share and create a safe space and know that it's we're all experiencing similar things.
We can hold
We're not
space.
alone.
Yeah.
Right. So that's exactly what we try to do, or we try to co create in our groups together. And the groups are usually mindfulness based cognitive behavioral therapy. That is the focus of the group. So each group, so there are 8 sessions, and each session builds up on the previous session. We are learning emotional regulation skills. We're also doing, so we do meditation. We kind of really practice what we want to take back into the world, into the busy world. That's what we're practicing in the safe place together. And we're also, there is also a place for to share our own experiences, what's
Right.
going on in the safe container that we create. So, and it's a very beautiful process.
Oh, I want to be a part of this group. I'm signing up. Where's the button? By the way, if there's a lot more information, we have all of this information available on in the comments below this video. If you're watching this on YouTube or in any other, just look around somewhere on the video, wherever you're watching this. There's we're going to put some links on where you can find more information about where to sign up and how to sign up. When is the next group happening?
So I have a group for women every Fridays at 7 p.m. EST, and then there is a group for adolescents between the age of 12 to 15 every Tuesdays at 5 p.m.
Every Tuesdays at 5 p.m. And is there a length for how long the adolescence program is going to run?
It goes on for an hour and 15 minutes,
Mhm.
and so is the group for women, an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay. And it's ongoing.
It's an ongoing group, yes.
Okay,
And we do take breaks, like after a session, it's 8 weeks, so we do take like a week break, and then we start begin again. So it's an ongoing group.
Gotcha. And can you tell me a little bit more about what work is done with the adolescents? What do adolescents experience in these meetings?
Yeah, so for an adolescent, just because how the stage that they are in, they feel so alone, and with their brain development and all that, it makes them feel like what they're experiencing is very unique and very true only to themselves. And when they come and meet other adolescents, usually sharing the same experiences, something similar, doesn't have to be same, but something similar, they feel so much like, oh, okay, I'm not alone in this. Like this is something, it really gives them that what do you say, they feel more connected with their own experiences. And
It also
and they,
creates that community, as you were talking about, the coming together, and
yes.
especially in these circumstances where we're cooped up alone in our rooms most of the time.
Yes. So it creates that, and just the feeling of not being alone is the most important thing. And then they learn resources from how the other participants in the group are handling the situation, and they kind of learn that much more easily from their own peer groups or from people from the same age, rather, so it's much easier for them to kind of apply that, take that back and apply. And again, we're learning skills, we're doing mindfulness based activities, we do body movements, gentle body movements, artwork. So each session we focus on a different aspect of yeah.
Okay, and this is all happening right now online.
Yes. Oh, everything is happening online.
Everything is online.
And
Everything is online, guys. Yes.
and the adolescents love that because they don't have to go, they don't have to really be in the presence of anybody. They're tuning in from their own safe places, and they really like that.
Yeah, fantastic. They don't need to ask for a ride or figure out
Mhm.
how to get there or wherever it is they're going, spending time on getting there. It's just bringing it into their home and into their environment. All right. Arthi, is there anything that you would like to share with the world? Like if you were to is there anything that you would like to run up to the rooftops and scream so that every couple knows, so that just one thing that you would want to instill in the mind of every couple that you work with, or let's say every adolescent that you work with? Is there a message for the world?
Oh, wow. Yes. I think something that I really like resonate with and I would like to share is in a relationship, the best gift that you can give the other is your presence.
Mhm.
And to be able to do that, you need to be willing to be present first within yourself,
Mhm.
willing to kind of reflect and be willing to gift yourself the time of presence, like making it a daily practice, like every day morning spend at least 10 to 15 minutes where you can reflect in quietness or meditate, or some kind of a reflective practice so that you can find that safe container for you. So when you, like for example, uh, you wake up feeling really amazing and great, and then you come downstairs and your partner's having this really awful day, and then they start yelling and they're screaming and they start transferring what's going on for them onto you. And it's so easy for us to pick up that and start yelling and say, I started my day having such a great day and now you ruined it for me, because
Yes.
you don't have that container. So when you kind of wake up with an intention to be present for yourself and with yourself, if you have to come down and if your partner is having a rough day, you can just take a pause and check into yourself and then be there for them, saying, yes, honey, I see you're having a tough day today. How can
Mhm.
I help you? Or what can I do to make that feel better for you? Rather than snapping and getting into your wish response and wanting to attack them back on how they ruined your day.
Container. So the message is, let's practice containers. Let's walk around
Cheers.
with containers for ourselves, and so that we can have that space for ourselves and the partner, whatever it is that they're going through and whatever emotions they're in.
Yeah, like being learning to be present for yourself, like intentionally being present in quietness for yourself. Just a moment of quietness actually helps you to tune into that when you really need it.
Mhm. Well, okay, that's the message. I'll take it. I'm gonna write it down and send this to my partner over the text message. Like, where's your container? Let's learn to be present. And that is something that we forget. That's something that we just constantly forget. So thank you for that reminder. It's really important to practice these like 5-10 minutes of mindfulness for yourself. When we practice this for ourselves, it becomes easier to practice it for others.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily our partners. It could be a guy who had a road rage on the street, or anybody. You can
A
just
boss at work or
about at
anybody.
work. Yeah, a kid. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. Well, thank you so much for all of this. We are. I hope that we can do more of these in the future. Maybe we can pick up some topics. Maybe, guys, everybody who's watching, if you have any questions for us, if you have any questions for Arthi, if there's anything specific that you're interested more in the work that she does, throw a comment below. DM us, DM wherever you're watching this. Send a message, ask the question, and if we see any interest, we'll make all of these videos. We'll come together, we'll record, we'll come back to you, we'll answer it. And as I said, the links for more information are on the bottom. You can just go ahead and click, and our contact information is everywhere. So just like send us a message, let us know what you think. And Arthi, we will get together and we will answer on any questions that people might have.
Yes,
Thanks
yes, and
so
thank
much
you.
for answering all of these
Oh
questions.
no, thank
Very
you very much, Julia. It was lovely.
fantastic. Yeah, well, I'll see you on the other side.
I will. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Bye everybody. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.